writing and things that you need to be aware of when you're in argument writing. Let's start with info-explanatory writing. We've already done this, so this should be really familiar to you. If you look at the graphic, you'll notice that we start with a topic, and you start with a topic sentence. We did that as one of our Super 6, although it was a Super 5, and it was contained in the introduction. Then we moved into 3 body paragraphs. Although it's not a magic number, you might have 3 body paragraphs, you might have 2 body paragraphs, but you're going to have some number of body paragraphs in your essay. Every body paragraph started with a big idea, then went into details, and then finally went into your explanation. That should be really familiar. We ended, of course, with a conclusion. Argument writing is very, very similar, but there are a few differences that I want you to be aware of. For argument writing, in the introduction, instead of saying a topic and using a Super 6 topic sentence, you're going to make a claim. A claim, of course, you've already written for your Superman-Batman essay, and the claim is going to state your position. Which side are you on? Are you in favor of Superman? Are you in favor of Batman? You can still use the Super 6 strategies as you did, so you could use a simple declarative sentence or a situation stance, but your claim is going to take a side. There will be some sort of bias because you are going to argue one side or the other. Body paragraphs are also set up similarly, but there are some differences that you need to be aware of. First of all, just like info-explanatory writing, you might have 1 body paragraph, you might have 2, you might have 3, you may even have 4, depending on the number of reasons you have and the type of evidence that you found. But we're going to stick to the idea right now that you'll have 3. You may have less, you may have 1 more. You will have at least 2. Instead of starting out with a big idea, you're going to start out with a reason. You believe that Superman would win? Here's my reason why. I believe that Batman would win? Here's my reason why. Now your reason has to be logical, and you have to have evidence from the text to support it and back it up. So the first thing you're going to do is state your reason. Then you're going to state your evidence from your article. What text evidence do you have to support this? Now your text evidence can come from the articles, or it could also come from the movies that we watched, but you have to have some sort of text evidence. And then finally you're going to have your analysis. Why are you in belief that this is true? How does this text evidence support your reason? How does this text evidence support your claim? This is where you're really diving into your evidence and making sure your reader understands how your evidence really does support your claim. So we have reason, we have evidence, we have analysis. If we look at them side by side, you'll notice they're very similar. Topic, big idea, details, explanation, claim, reason, evidence, analysis. The tricky part is analysis in argument writing, because you can't simply say, this is so because I said so. You really have to prove through logical reasoning to your reader that your evidence is supporting your reason, which is supporting your claim. If you can't do that, you don't have good evidence, you do not have a good reason, and your argument will fall apart. All right, a couple of other things that we're going to take a look at. Argument writing. Hang on one second while I get the slideshow to play. All right, argument writing techniques. You are going to want to pay special attention to these argument techniques. One is to use facts. Facts, of course, are those pieces of information that have been researched or are proven to be true. In your notebook, be sure that you write down facts. So you're going to be looking in your research for facts about Superman and facts about Batman as fictional characters. For example, fact, Superman can fly. Fact, Batman can't. Those would be facts. Expert opinion. Experts in a particular field of study, they offer useful information that can help persuade an audience. Now, in this case, your experts are probably going to be your the people who wrote your articles, your authors. Normally they wouldn't be your authors unless your author was like a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that you could tell was an expert on this. But since this is a fictional situation, the author would be considered to be someone who is an expert. So you can use their name and explain their opinion and use that as well. Statistics, usually you could use statistics to back up your information. This time, probably not, because there aren't any statistics available. Same with real life examples and anecdotes. Since we're talking about superheroes and it's a made up fictional universe, you're not going to find these. But normally, you would use real life examples or anecdotes, so long as you had true real life examples. Somebody should be able to go on the internet and find the example that you submit and find out that it's true. You can't just make it up. Same with statistics. If you were to use a statistic in an argument paper, you would have to have that statistic stand up to scrutiny, somebody going on the internet and seeing whether or not you were telling the truth. You cannot just make it up. All right, techniques to use judiciously. What's that word mean? Well, judiciously, it looks a little bit like judge. It's kind of what it means. Judiciously means use your judgment and use them infrequently. We don't use our judges frequently, hopefully. We're not in the courtroom every day. So we use these terms like we want to use our judges. Not very often, only when absolutely necessary. One is emotive language. Well, emotive language is basically emotional language. Language that's going to play on somebody's heartstrings or get somebody angry. That's very good for persuasive writing, as we talked about when we talked about persuasive versus argumentative, but it really does not belong in an argumentative paper. The only reason it might show up in an argumentative paper would be if you were citing facts about a real-life example and something tragic happened. Then that might have some emotive language in it, but for the most part, you want to avoid it. Generalizations. Generalizations are statements about a large group of people or an everyday situation without allowing for any exceptions. So using words like always, never, all. Those big words that we say, hey, if that is this a fact or is this an opinion? Oh, I used every, so it's probably an opinion. You really don't want to do that because it's going to turn your reader off. Your reader's probably going to be sitting there going, well, does that really happen all the time? Does that happen to everyone in that situation? Generalizations sometimes can't be avoided, but in general, you should try to avoid them if you can. Connotation. We've talked a lot about connotation this year and how we can use different words to make something seem negative or make something seem positive. You want to stay as neutral as possible in an argument paper. Again, connotation, that's more of a persuasive technique, and in persuasive writing it works really, really well. But in argument writing, it actually weakens your argument because your reader won't trust you as much. And finally, exaggeration. You should never be exaggerating in an argument paper. If you exaggerate, it's easy to find out. Everybody lives in the day of the internet where we all have our phones and we all have our other devices and our iPads and all of those things, and we can immediately look up facts that show up in a paper or show up anywhere that we're looking. And if the author has exaggerated the facts, it's so easy to find out. So you don't want to use exaggeration because it can actually, like connotation and generalization, weaken your argument, especially if somebody finds out you're not telling the truth. Argument papers are all about logical reasoning, telling the truth, giving good analysis that supports your reasons and supports your claim. That's what you want to always do. Okay, one last thing before I go. Counterclaims. We've talked a little bit about counterclaims and how the counterclaim is the opposite claim of what you're arguing. So if you are arguing Superman, then your counterclaim would be that some say Batman would win. If you're arguing Batman, your counterclaim would be that some say Superman would win. Now, counterclaims need to show up in the body paragraph, and you need to have a reason to argue against it. So, for example, if I'm saying that Superman is going to win, and I want to do a counterclaim, I might say something like, Batman, some people say Batman would win, but he's merely a human being. Then I could go on and talk about all the reasons why Superman could easily crush a human being. If it's Batman, I could do something similar. Now here's the deal. I just used that one. I don't want to see that as your counterclaim. Ha ha ha, I took the easy one. So, you're going to be writing your body paragraphs today. You're going to be organizing your body paragraphs today. You're probably going to be writing them today and tomorrow. In one of your body paragraphs, you're going to be talking about your counterclaim, and I want you to be thinking about it and be kind of pushing it in. But that's something we are going to continue working on when I am able to come back. I hope to see you soon. Have a great day. Good luck with your papers. By the way, just a little side note, I am slowly reading through your introductions. Didn't have time this weekend with Thanksgiving, but I'm slowly reading through your introductions and commenting on them. We will go back to your introductions and do some final edits on those before you finalize the paper to turn in for an assessment grade. All right, have a great day. Be good with Mr. Ramey. Bye-bye.